Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hair News. Kia ora Chewy.
Kia ora, Pat. I saw a ghost tonight. Did you know that?
Oh, I know who you're
real
referencing.
world ghost.
Yeah. I haven't seen
I've
any
just-
of Bomber's show. Tell me about the ghost on Bomber's show, though.
It was so scary. Roger Douglas was there.
Yeah.
Apparently, some
No.
people call him Sir Roger Douglas. I'm not going to do that. I tuned it. Like, I know he set up act, and I know he bubbles away. I don't listen to him. I don't listen to his comments. So to see him on Bomber's show tonight, I was kind of half by thinking, well, maybe this is a man in the twilight of his years. It's maybe he's had a re-examining of the impact that he's had on New Zealand.
A Chester Burrows moment.
Yeah, he has, Pat. He has reflected on the things that he did and the effect it had on New Zealand. And the conclusion that he's come to in his twilight years is it didn't go far enough.
Oh, jeez. Jeez,
The
Louise.
The best thing that we can do for Māori or the poor is just to leave them. Leave them behind, because they don't learn anything otherwise. I could not believe it. This was a man that basically said, maybe I should have starved to death because Mum was laid off from the IRD and Dad lost his job at Watties in the late 80s. That's something that happened under his watch. Maybe if I'd starved to death, I would have learned to be self-sufficient. What the fuck?
Is this I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, Fano. It's a bit of a rush. Like
Is this
my
real
computer
life?
crashed.
Yes.
I'm just making sure we're all back and we're all together. Okay. And it's normally Chewy's tabs that disappear, but my tabs have all disappeared. And then I went history, replace 16 tabs, and it didn't do it. So I need to try and figure out the show. We're going live, as Bill O'Reilly said once, to do it as we're doing it. Anyway, team. Tonight, assuming I can still find all the resources, we're going to bring on Tania Waikato in just a second, talk about the conflict within the coalition government around this regulatory standards bill. There's also a few other bits and bobs in there as well, which we could throw at. Also to do with the coalition, actually, there's kind of some nice, TV3 did a piece tonight, which kind of worked quite nicely into the, there was a meeting going on at 7 p.m. between Fonterra and Nikki Noboats to get the price of butter down. Now, I don't know whether that will do anything, but that was happening. And so we'll have a look at that. But there's also some news out today that the coalition is polling poorly. Now, we don't really take very seriously polling around how many seats would you win. But this polling that's come out today is talking about how is the economy going. So what this does is gives us a snapshot of how people are feeling about this government today. That's a bit more interesting, in my opinion. So we'll have a look at that. Also, speaking of three News got sold today for $1 to Sky TV. And Chewy, you said to me last night, we have to talk about Colbert at some stage this week. So I thought actually what we should probably do is bring the two things in at the same time and have a little bit of a look at media at the moment, what's happening with media at the moment, including these two decisions, Colbert being cancelled and 3 being sold. I'm assuming, I haven't done it, but I'm going to email the CEO of Sky. Yeah, unlikely to get her, but I'm interested to see, did they have to sign some kind of agreement that said they are going to continue on with some things? Because, dude, I would have bought it for $1. Sell all the assets and make a ton of money, but they've bought it to continue on.
Could you imagine the rebrand if we'd known that it was up for $1? I mean, obviously, it's a
BHN.
handshake deal and Yeah. Just don't tell anyone. And then 6 o'clock rolls around and that familiar tune comes on the TV.
We're doing that.
And I do the first primetime F-bomb.
I
Call
think
Roger
that belongs-
Douglas a cunt and then get on to the sports.
Yeah. Okay, so a bunch of stuff going on tonight. Apologies if we feel a bit flustered. In fact, Chewy, because everything crashed, I should probably just check to see that audio was playing as well. So just entertain the whānau for a quick second while I bring this up.
Yeah, I just, because you'd hear the thing and then you go, good evening, New Zealand. Roger Douglas is a cunt. The All Blacks beat France 3-0.
Oh my gosh, you know that the All Blacks beat France 3-0. You don't do sports ball. What happened? Did you get you have a head injury in the weekend?
I should have said the All Blacks beat France by 4 baskets. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Give me some love. Yes?
Yep,
Grooving,
very
chilling,
sexy.
vibing? Okay.
Very, very
All right.
sexy.
Sorry, team. It's very unprofessional of us to be checking the audio live on here, but you know how we roll. We're not professional. People who are professional, though, are people like lawyers and shit. They're always really professional kind of people. So maybe we should get one to come and have a chat with us. Let's welcome to the show, Tania Waikato. Kia ora, Tanya. Welcome.
Kia ora, boys. How's it going?
It's going really good. I know that you did a little tease release last week, but we kind of said last night that there is this thing on the horizon to do with BHN and Tania Waikato and the aforementioned podcast. So we kind of told everyone that last night. I know you'd already told your crew, and I thought as a part of tonight's conversation, maybe we could ask you, what do you want to do with your podcast? Why don't you tell us what you want to do with the podcast on BHN to start the show?
Why not? I've actually been working away very quietly behind the scenes, getting a whole bunch of people lined up for my new podcast on VHN, which is probably the worst kept secret that there is. And what I've been asking all of my guests to come and talk about is what their vision for Hawaii Ho is, which is this cool little catchphrase that's been doing the rounds for quite a while now. And what it actually means is we talk about Hawaii as our homeland, where we came from. Some people think it's Hawaii. Some people think it's this mythological place that nobody really knows where it is. But Hawaii Ho is this idea of the future and a vision for Aotearoa, however you want to describe it. And what does that look like for each individual person? And what is it that they're working towards in their particular lives that will contribute to what it looks like in the future? So I've got a whole bunch of politicians, I've got a bunch of musicians, lots of other random people that I know through work and other parts that I do, and it's shaping up to be quite a fun little show, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, not just politics. We're going to have music, we're going to have current affairs, we're going to have all sorts of things on the show.
Cool, man. And we're still working out finer details as to how and when, like, will it be live, will it be a pre-record, whatnot, but we're in those conversations. I'm hoping, what are we now, with the 22nd of July, by the end of July we'll probably know. Would that be fair, you reckon? We'll know, give some details done within the next week or so?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've already got quite a few people lined up to come on the show, and they're all really keen to come and have a chat and have a yarn and tell us some stories. I've got some very interesting stories coming up, which I can't talk about just yet. But yeah, what I'll say is there's a lot of crossovers with my work and my playtime, which is what we're doing right now, that are all kind of smashing together quite nicely. So we might have some exclusives on the podcast to kick us off as well.
Very cool. And as we said last night, it's like you've got an economist from the CTU, you've got an emergency doctor from Northland, you've got a lawyer who works with Te Pāti Māori, and then you've got Pat and Chewy, those dudes who've got no accreditation to
doing
them whatsoever.
sports.
Doing sports.
You kind of got all the bases covered right there, boys.
Yeah, you go do all the proper work and we'll just keep on calling ex-politicians dirty names. That'll be our...
Well, we need the man on the street. You always need the man on the street, right?
Yeah, and when you find him, point him our way. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's get into this conversation, shall we? I'm going to just play your TikTok, the one that is the Western TikTok. It's a beautiful thing to get us going, because it's talking about the potential ructions within this coalition, and it's all coming around the RSB, which has obviously been a passion project for you so far. Let's have a look at the TikTok you put up there. Good hat, by the way. Yeah, good hat. We like that.
I love that. Howdy, partners. I hope that you stocked up on your popcorn because today's episode is turning into a little bit of a Western, complete with a showdown brewing between Winston Peters and David Seymour. So, as the headline states, David Seymour's come out and said that you never play poker with your cards on the table. It's very Kenny Rogers and the Gambler.
It's actually wrong as well because cards are always on. You never show your cards. Is what he was looking for.
But you can't even get that right.
That's why you have a poker table because your cards sit on the table. So yeah, he's even got that wrong.
Breakdown says that the ACT Party's Regulatory Standards Bill is being billed as the thing that could crack open the coalition, as David Seymour names it as an absolute bottom line, while his partners over here say that changes are needed.
There you go. We pointed this out last night because we did the Tama Potaka conversation from Q&A. And I'll just play another 60 seconds here because in one of the articles, it was either Newsroom or interest.co.nz, that they're reporting that when David Seymour heard what Tama Potaka, he said, "What?" Like it was
it was
what?
Newsroom. I read it.
It was Newsroom. And so let's just have a look for 60 seconds, actually what Tama did say about the Regulatory Standards Bill on Q&A over the weekend.
Is he right?
Well, I don't think the Regulatory Standards Bill in its current form acknowledges tikanga, but I think that over all bills and over all acts, I have a very serious expectation that treaty responsibilities and rights are upheld.
So is the UN Special Rapporteur right in his criticism?
Well, in the current wording of the Regulatory Standards Bill, it does not mention tikanga and it does not mention the treaty principles, and that's actually a concern that many of my own colleagues, peers, even my daughter, have mentioned.
We'll keep going on this, Tanya, but we said last night probably the daughter thing is probably the worst thing for a politician. If their daughter's pissy with them, something's wrong there.
Hey, what's going on here? But
I think the Prime Minister criticised his letter.
Criticised
that letter?
Yeah, I acknowledge the Prime Minister criticised that. What I'm saying is a lot of people have expressed their concerns to me over that, and it doesn't acknowledge tikanga. And in terms of treaty responsibilities and rights, I think that those are fundamental constitutional issues that actually sit over and above all legislation.
Will you vote?
I can understand when you hear Mr. Seymour's response being, what? Because that sounds like a dude who is going, yeah, I don't like this. There are others that don't like this. But like me and Chewie were saying last night, I don't know how, we don't talk about families typically, but if his daughter's like a 20-year-old university student, how do you face your daughter if you vote for a thing that is supposedly, we're being told, you can give us all the lowdown, going to rip the treaty out of all New Zealand legislation? So you can throw the ball now. And Winston Peters is saying things as well about there needs to be changes. And Tama Potaka is saying publicly lots of people aren't happy with this. And David Seymour's going, hang on, we have a deal. What are your thoughts?
Well, hearing Thomas say that was a very interesting kind of side curveball for me because Winston Peters and Shane Jones have been making these noises for a long time. So I think the last time I was on your show, we talked about the fact that the day after our hearing in the Waitangi Tribunal on the Regulatory Standards Bill, New Zealand First very clearly timed it so that a newspaper article came out in Newsroom again, which had comments from Winston saying, we've got issues with this bill and it's not a done deal, essentially. And they've just been continually feeding that out to the media at very strategic points and increasing that rhetoric as it goes along to get stronger and stronger to the point where they're now saying we need to see substantial changes to this bill. And so Winston hasn't really changed his tune. He's just getting stronger on it. So what's really interesting about Tama now coming out and very publicly saying, virtually, I agree with what the Special Rapporteur has said in this letter, which is highly critical of the Regulatory Standards Bill. This is now national through Tama coming out and very publicly distancing themselves from the Regulatory Standards Bill. And do not make any mistake, the timing of this is absolutely deliberate, because we've just had the oral hearings on the Regulatory Standards Bill. There were a number of submissions that were made in opposition by some very smart people and some very well-respected, not just academics. We had Sir Geoffrey Palmer, who made a very clear submission about the ramifications of this piece of legislation. We even had the Office of the Clerk making a submission, which you could say, was it in opposition? They were making some observation as to how the legislation might work. And so for me, these are very clear signs that the government is trying to distance itself. Does that mean that they're going to demand some serious changes to the bill? We will see very soon. But for me, that is the first time that I've seen a national MP and a minister at that say anything of that magnitude.
So it leads to two possible conclusions. One is exactly what you're saying. It's a deliberate placement of information into the public arena, that it has been planned from the ninth floor, gone down through Tama to the public. The other option is there's a split. Well, yeah, there's a potential split within there, and some of these guys are going, I'm basically sitting there not on board. Well, do we have Marie Dyberg the other day, Chewie? Is that who we had from the 80s? And she was saying how many times she crossed the floor, like for the nuclear boats and that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you're getting in the neck from your daughter, and your party's still saying, well, it's a government bill and it's part of the coalition agreement, is he going, hey, Luxo, you don't have me, and there's some others as well?
I don't know. I honestly don't get that feel from Tama. I don't think he's got the guts, to be honest with you. I don't think he's that type of politician. If you were talking about me, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, But I just don't think that he's the type of go it alone politician that would put his neck out and basically put his head on the chopping block for us. I just really don't think that he's that type of politician. I think he's been instructed. Like you say, the messages come down the pipeline, and they deliberately chose that particular interview, because you think about it, anybody that is interviewed by Jack Tame, that is immediately going to be watched by the whole country. People talk about it. And if he's going on that interview, he has got his instructions as to what he's going to say. He's not just going to make stuff up on the spot about what he's going to talk about. And if you saw how strongly Jack pushed him on the homelessness issue, because Jack was trying to get an answer out of him. I think he asked him 4 or 5 times about whether or not to change policy. Exactly. I was watching and I was like, bro, and he was just recycling the rhetoric that he had been trained to say. So, in the context of the whole interview, for me anyway, it felt rehearsed, and it felt like very deliberate that the two things that were in the special rapporteur's letter were the two things that he kept repeating. So for me, it was a rehearsed thing. He was schooled on it, and he delivered the message. Yeah, no,
I think that's a astute observation, that those rehearsed lines were, I reckon it was possibly the worst interview by any minister, and that means it's worse than Nicole McKee. There's a few to light up against side. But that does look like a prepared statement. So if those are,
like Chewie counted, I did as well. Like, I'm sure everybody was sitting there counting how many times he avoided the question and how many times he reiterated the same point over and over. And it's really clear when you see politicians just saying the same thing. They've been trained to say it, and they either don't have the guts to answer the question themselves, or they don't have the intelligence to answer the question off the cuff. And to be honest, I think that someone in his position, he is a minister, he does have, a number of portfolios that he's responsible for. He's given the line, and his job is to deliver the line, and that's what he did.
And I guess what I hear you saying is there's this Occam's razor thing that goes, if the first 3/4 of the interview are so obviously prepared statements, it makes sense that one is also prepared. That would make more sense than it being off the cuff. Chewie, jump in, sir.
Yeah, so I'm worried, and I guess I'm worried this talk about, like, Winston's going to chuck his toys, somebody's going to cross the floor, is cope. And obviously I want it to happen, but I also want it to be realistic about how much chance there is. When do we find out? When's the point of no return for this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Well, there's always a chance, and people have been asking me this question for a long time now, and so I've explained to a lot of people, we are still in the select committee stage of this bill, right? So we've had our oral submissions, the select committee is now compiling their report, and then they will report back to the House once they've done that. Now, that's a really important step for this particular bill, because of the number of submissions that were put in. And I've been told that it was actually more than 130,000. I've been told it's actually upwards of 150,000 is the latest numbers that I've been given from some insiders as to how many there were. And they're still processing those submissions as well. So that's still happening. Once that's done, that is going to have quite a big impact in terms of what happens next in the House. So they'll go back, the report will be given back to Parliament. Now, that is an opportunity right there for New Zealand First and for National, if they are having these sort of, okay, are we really going to go down this pathway? Are we actually going to back this the whole way? That is the point when they will be making the decision, and they will be using what's in that report to basically go, okay, well, the report said X, so we're going to change this. Or there was this much opposition against this part of the bill, so we're going to change this. So they'll use it as an excuse, but they'll also have their people that are on the select committee putting those things in there for them to do this. So that's another thing for people to understand, is that committee is made up of a majority of the government MPs. So they are the ones that will, at the end of the day, control what goes into that report. And the Labour Party MPs who are on there, the Green Party MPs and the Te Pāti Māori MPs who are on that committee as well, they will have an opportunity to disagree with the things in the report that they don't like and put a different point of view in there. But at the end of the day, the majority on that committee is the government MPs. So they will have the biggest lion's share of what goes into that report. So it's going to be slanted regardless, but that's why it's interesting, because if National is having doubts, they'll slant it so that they can get out of jail on whatever it is that they want to get out of jail on.
Right. Okay.
Chewy, more?
Oh God, it's a long road.
It's a marathon, bro. It's a marathon.
It really is. Is this a marathon that we want to carry on because it is doing damage in the public sphere to the government?
Yes, absolutely. And the thing with this particular bill, and we talked about this a little bit the last time I was on the show, is that this is the one bill that does have the potential to crack this coalition, and you can see it happening already. And when I did another interview, I said that of all of the pieces of legislation that are coming through, this is the only one that is of enough gravity and has enough controversy associated with it that it could push National and it could push New Zealand First. And to be honest, I did not expect National to do what they've just done. I wasn't expecting them to come out publicly at this stage and start distancing themselves so clearly. So for me, we're actually ahead of where I even sort of dreamed that we could get to with the pressure that we've been putting on them. So for me, we're actually probably 2 steps further along than I thought we would be at this stage. I thought that it wouldn't be until after the select committee that National would potentially start to say, oh, we're not sure about this. So for me, that's a bit of a win for us. The other thing too that I just wanted to mention is privately to various sources that have reported it back to me, New Zealand First is saying that they're going to block this at the second reading. And I can't vouch for whether or not that's true or whether or not they are actually going to do it, but I've been told that by several different sources. So if that's just them electioneering, who knows? But for me, the fact that they're even saying that to people publicly and to people that they probably know me, they probably know would tell me, that's planting seeds regardless of whether or not they're actually serious about doing it. So for me, the fact that they're out there publicly saying we're going to block this at second reading, number one, that says to me that there's some plan going on. Whether or not it's a plan to actually block it or whether they're going to gut it, I don't know, and we're going to have to wait and see. But what it is doing is it's setting up a showdown.
Couple of things. The first is we don't ever need to hear about you doing other interviews. It does feel a bit wrong. So
It's hurtful.
That's hurtful. It's
I'm sorry,
hurtful.
boys. I'm sorry.
I feel cheated on just a little bit. But the second thing is we have been saying all the way through this, if anyone, like when the first lot of submissions went through, 23,000, the first round, and there was 76 that were in supporting it. If there's 150,000, you know, they might be upwards of 500 individual supporting ones now if the numbers were to stay the same. But Luxon, if nothing else, I think will acknowledge and recognise public opinion. I don't think he's a good politician. I don't think any of us think he's a particularly good politician, but I think even he's not dumb enough to go, if let's say 70% of respondents are against this, 20% are unclear and 10% are for it, you don't take that into a 1 year out from an election. So it will be really interesting to see what happens once those numbers come out. And I like it that you say that they're still going through them. And I was wondering, is that like they print them out and they put them into the shredder? Is that about as much going through them as they're doing at the moment? But yeah, I mean, I think you can trust him to be a bad politician, which means you can trust him to have no backbone, trust him to have no spine. So you can trust him that if a massive groundswell, pardon the pun, massive tsunami wave of don't do this is put in front of him, his spinelessness might work in our favour. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, that was one of the reasons why we went so hard in the campaign to get people to make submissions, because we know these politicians don't care about anything except for the numbers. So even though, David Seymour's come out and even James Mager came out and said, the select committee process isn't for people to make one-line submissions, I don't accept that at all. If people only have the capacity to say we oppose this bill and that's all that they have either the time to do because they're too busy trying to put bloody food on the table, or because they don't have the ability to express themselves any further than we just know we don't like it and that's all we want to say. Well, who are they to deny people having their say in the democratic process? I just find that whole idea and concept that these politicians are saying people's opinions who got off their butts and made a submission doesn't count. I find that very disrespectful. And I also find it really, for me anyway, in this day and age when people really are struggling just to survive, for them to go that far and to, participate in a process like this is a massive thing for people to do. So I think there are so many things playing out within this little microcosm of this particular bill that just say a lot about where New Zealand politics is as a whole. And I agree with you. I think that National is starting to understand this isn't a one-off. The Treaty Principles Bill wasn't a one-off. Us being able to mobilise massive numbers and massive amounts of people, it isn't a one-off. And people are following us because they believe in what we are doing and because they're sick of the BS that the politicians are feeding them and they want something different. And if the politicians don't wake up in time for the next election, that's fine because the people will start using their voice with their votes.
Yeah, and a bit later on in the show, we're going to have a look at some Talbot Mills numbers that came out today, which is kind of saying that. But one other thing before we wrap up, Tanya, and you pointed me to the interest.co.nz article. Chris Trotter, who's an interesting sausage at the moment when it comes to where he used to be on the left and sort of what his positions are now.
Oh, Trotter.
I know, Jimmy. That's what makes this article so interesting, though.
But, big but, for about the past 3 or 4 weeks, it seems that David Seymour's antics and utter disrespect for the position of Prime Minister, like sending a letter to the UN when he had no right to do that, is just like, we'll just screw the way this is, and I'm going to do what I want. We felt like for about the past 3 weeks, Chewy, that we've been saying, he's entered electioneering already. He's acting because he's acting like an opposition MP. Like disregard for how government runs. He's just going to do what he wants when he wants, like he's the leader of ACT in opposition. And then Chris Chris Trotter came out with this. Over the next 15 months, the clear strategic imperative for all three coalition partners is breakout. Each must seize as much of the right's ideological territory as possible for themselves. It seems like, he's a few weeks behind us, but Mr. Trotter has kind of put out there as well, electioneering has started. I can imagine that Seymour would probably be even more so than, say, Chloe, but Seymour would be the happiest person in the world if there was no Winston Peters there next year. So you've got these conflicts about to come up as all of these guys go back into electioneering. And how much of the news to do with David Seymour in particular, me and Chewy and whoever our guest is going, because he's speaking to his base. That's the only people. He doesn't care about whatever stand-up he's doing or group he's speaking to or whatever. He's speaking to his base because he's electioneering. Any thoughts?
And they all are, to be fair, and that's what Winston is absolutely doing as well, because the thing with the regulatory standards bill and its timing as well, coming, where we are in the election cycle right now, is they are on the cusp of having to pull away from each other, and there's going to be this cannibalism of, the votes on the right. So you're going to have New Zealand First coming for the national voters, you're going to have ACT coming for the national voters, and the way that they do that is by separating themselves from each other and by criticising each other. So that's another reason why the regulatory standards bill is the powder keg that's waiting to blow up. And it's a question of who's going to blink first. One of the things that was really interesting in that article that Chris Trotter put out about David Seymour and what he is saying lately is the fact that he decided to use his race as a Māori in their response to the special rapporteur.
To the UN, yeah.
And the hypocrisy of this man who has, for this entire term of government, been talking about how race shouldn't be used for funding, it shouldn't be used for any type of identity, it shouldn't be used for X, Y, and Z. And for them to him blatantly say, I'm an Indigenous New Zealander and my fellow Māori don't need you to be telling us what to do from Geneva. I read that and I just couldn't believe it, to be honest with you.
That's fair though, isn't it? You can't use it for education, you can't use it for funding, you can't use it to protect your culture or your language. You can use it at the drop of a hat to hide behind when someone criticises you, though. That's the one true purpose.
Perfectly acceptable use. And I mean, this is the reason why we wrote the open letter to the United Nations and gave people the opportunity to sign it, to say that this man does not speak for us. And, we've got nearly 14,000 signatures on that in less than a week, which just demonstrates how many people are so over what I call flip-flop politics coming from him. He really is looking desperate because of the pressure that's been put on him regarding the regulatory standards bill. And I think I saw in one of the other articles calling it the beleaguered regulatory standards bill, because it really is at this point in time. So he's feeling the pressure, and that's where this, sort of erratic behaviour is coming from.
Yeah. Anything else to wrap up with, Tanya? Anything else that you want to get out there about what you're seeing in the world of politics at the moment?
Yeah, for me, I think there's a lot of sort of uncertainty at the moment in terms of heading into this next final, thank goodness, part of this government's term. And a lot of people are wondering, okay, how much worse can it get in this last part of the term? And the thing that I want people to remember, I suppose, is we're on the home straight now, people. We're over the halfway point. And the things that are happening now, and we can see them very clearly in these interviews that we've looked at tonight and in the news stories we've looked at tonight, they are cracking. They are starting to show the pressure that this term of government is putting on them, and that our people are starting to push back and acting collectively to put on them. So what I would encourage people to do is to start thinking about the next election now. Start thinking about who you're going to vote for. Start thinking about being strategic with your vote, because the only way that we do not end up in the same bloody situation again in the next election cycle is if we start to learn how to vote strategically. And if you do not want to see this absolute mess of a political situation that we've got right now, start thinking about how do we get a left bloc government in, and how do we give them enough power to do what needs to be done in this next term? Those are the big questions that we as a country really need to tackle moving into this next election. And it's something that I will definitely be talking about with my guests on my new podcast, because I want people to be ready to roll when it comes to the next election.
Yeah, super smooth.
You like what I did there?
So yeah, no, that's nice. It's really good. Once we figure out some more details about it, it'll even be fun, more fun to tag that on to the end of everything. So where do we go to sign the letter, Chewy? You support that up?
Yeah, I just put the letter up and I put the link in the chat. It's also on our Discord and it'll be on our Facebook very shortly.
Awesome.
But yes, this is something that I haven't signed yet. So
you better get signing, Joey.
Yep.
Well, can I just say that's very generous of you this time, Chewy, because the last time you chastised me for not doing something, which was the regulatory standards bill, you chastised me like I was a bad person. You hadn't done it yet. So I'm glad you didn't ask me if I've signed it yet, because I haven't and I will.
Well, both of you better sign it.
Yeah.
Both better sign it.
Yeah. No problems whatsoever. Just one last thing, though, because you were bringing up about strategic voting. It does raise the question, what the hell is Labour doing in the Tamaki Makaurau seat? Because if Labour win it, the government has an even stronger hold because of the overhang on government. So I mean, I just doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense.
Well, and this is the thing, and this is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of our people being strategic about what we do. And I'm talking about the entire left bloc. We can't get into this situation where we're cutting off our nose to spite our face, because the result of all of that will be that the right potentially has another crack at it, and we just cannot have that. The things that would happen if we had another right government immediately following this one I'd probably leave this country, to be honest. I'd probably leave. It would get that bad. So you're right. There has to be some very serious conversations that are held at high levels about what that looks like, and if I've got anything to do with it, and hopefully I will have something to do with it, I'll be having those conversations. So yeah, I mean, for our people though, what I have been telling all of my followers and everyone else to start doing is, number one, make sure you're registered. Number two, think about who you have the opportunity to vote for within your electorate, but then also think about your party vote, because there is a very strategic way that you can split if you don't have someone within your electorate to vote for the party that you want to vote for. There are so many different ways that you can approach it, and you need to be thinking about it now. And you need to be having those conversations with your family, with your friends. And the more that we can, I suppose, align how we get the best bang for our buck come election time, the better.
And I guess the black and white of it is, if Winston and or National or both of them blow up this regulatory standards bill, there's every chance David Seymour will chuck his toys. And in theory, there could be election much, much sooner than 15 months if they decided to do that.
Please let that happen.
All right,
Well,
Tanya.
I mean, that's why I was so, part of me was really happy when I saw David Seymour saying, this is my bottom line and I will not, I was happy because we didn't know up until that point what they would do if National or New Zealand First, guts the bill, or if they fail to support it, because they could have just said, oh, well, all right, well, we'll just carry on. But now that he's publicly come out and said, nah, this is a bottom line. If you guys do this, all bets are off. We're going to walk away. Great. We literally are in snap election territory if this goes down. So
if they walk away. They may not
Are
walk
they gonna
away
do
if
it?
they walk away. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Nobody knows. But I think now that he said it publicly, it would be very difficult for him to walk away from that. And it would be difficult for him with his voters as well to walk away from that. You know, they would almost be like, well, you know, you have to do it now. And that's going to put them in such a difficult position if Winston pulls the plug. So roll
Tanya.
on second reading.
Thanks for jumping on tonight. We would plug your soon-to-be-released podcast, but we don't have all the details yet. But maybe you and I catch up tomorrow and we'll talk some more out and we'll figure it out and see what's going on. But thank you for coming on tonight. Really, really appreciate you giving us some time. And we'll talk off a camera real soon, but I'm sure we'll talk again on camera soon as well. So we'll catch you when we get you.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, boys.
Great to have you on.
See you.
Yes, Tanya. Oh, like I love thinking about tactical voting, or strategic voting, even, and I think what that means for folks like us, as I said, the political tragics, the people that listen to an hour and a half to 2 hours of political commentary 4 or 5 times a week, you psychopaths, is we need to throw our weight on the parties that provide the biggest bang for buck. Labour's not going to be going begging for votes. You know, they will get the votes from the people that aren't as clicked onto this and that wander in and decide whether they're red or blue on the day. We need to throw our weight behind parties that are agitating for real progressive change, and that's Te Pāti Māori and Greens, in my opinion.
Yeah, and look,
So-
I've said this for a long time. Some people disagree with me. Labor's job is to get some of those centrist voters back across to them, right? And they are the people who vote as well. The centre left, centre right, they're the ones who always vote. The Greens' job is to activate that left base because they are the ones who choose not to engage. And Te Pāti Māori's job is to keep the drip coming and keep doing what they're doing. You know, so it's like, if these guys can, and the other job is to not step on each other's dicks, you know, Chippy.
Yep.
It's just to not, you know, if Chippy gets a question with a policy from the Greens like he did last time, he just goes, look, this is not our policy. It's not our policy. I don't know how it would work or why it would work, but what happens is we get to an election, the nation says that we want a centre-left block vote or a centre-right block vote, and then we go into coalition. It's not what we would put in, but it's the Greens, and they've got their numbers, and I can see how they would think it would work, and we will talk about it after the election. If you trust
some
us to
really
run the country
interesting
better,
ideas.
yeah. If you trust us to run the country better than the last guys, it shouldn't be too hard to do, then give us the responsibility of taking the Labour ideas and the Green ideas and the Te Pāti Māori ideas and make them government ideas. You know?
Or alternatively, a way to pivot away is like, oh, so-and-so in the Greens of Te Pāti Māori has said this inflammatory thing, and we hope that you will say something like they are crazy again, because that was great. When you feel that urge to say that someone on your side is crazy, what I want you to do is pivot and find the craziest person on the right. And they go, I'll tell you who is crazy, Winston fucking Peters. And he's been crazy for 800 years. And that's how you get a soundbite into the news cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've said it before. If you see a headline in a paper and you don't know if Chippy or Luxon has said it, then Chippy, you've got it. That's bad. And with that Greens bill, when he said it was unrealistic, I think. And if that's all it said, Greens bill unrealistic, you wouldn't know if that was from. That could be from Luxon, then that's the wrong statement to make. If it could be from Luxon, then you shouldn't be making those statements.
See, this is why I'm not in politics, Pat. I'm just thinking of other ways that I would answer reporters' questions on policies from other parties. Like, do you think this policy idea that the Greens has come up with is crazy and kooky and all sorts of weird? And I'd go, not really. Do you know what I think is weird? James Meagher's dick. I saw it in the parliamentary washing rooms, and it's just a weird dick. You should talk to him about it. Anyway, bye.
Oh, we should be in Parliament, Chewy. It would be a fun place if nothing else.
People vote for Winston because he keeps things interesting. I think I could keep it just as interesting, and I would challenge myself to beat his record for how long I could keep it interesting for. As I said, 800 to 900 years.
Peter has said, here's enough to buy 2 TV networks. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Well done. And Kai Mātara says, we could call it 3HN. I see what you did. See what you did then. That's not bad. 3HN.
And I pledged to you we would not change the theme tune.
Kiwi says, Tea Time with Tanya. There's the name of the podcast, I guess. That's what Kiwi's saying. And that's, yes, I did stumble over that word. Yes, Pat, the Roald Dahl name is Tris Crotter. Got it. And it's in the bag. If Penny Henare wins the by-election, he would move to an electoral MP. Then Georgie Dancy comes onto the list. Not Parliament, loose 1 seat. I'm going to double check that because I've seen commentary that says the overhang changes. I'm not saying any seats get lost, but I understand that the overhang changes, but I could be wrong. Another one from Kai Mātara. Even worse if Hipkins said it was unrealistic before Barbara even read the budget. He's too impulsive for my liking. Fair enough. Now, Chewy, you've mentioned, things in that conversation. Stuff and things. But it made me think about polls. When you were talking before, it made me think about the latest polls and that kind of stuff and where we're at and strategic voting and how it would go. So let's have a look at the story from 3 News now. It's actually mostly about the price of butter, believe it or not. And Nicola Willis.
A ridiculous country, aren't we?
What
could topple the government? Butter.
It's the standard. How much is a 2 litres of milk, please, Mr. Prime Minister? It's the measurement of the day. The measurement du jour for cost of living is butter. More so than cheese. It was cheese before, but now it's butter apparently. And Nicola Willis has probably finished her meeting with the CEO of Fonterra. We're going to show the 3 News story tonight. If you want to see Mikey Sherman kind of haranguing the CEO, Mikey Sherman chased him along the sidewalk saying, can we talk? Can we talk? And him going, no. Can we talk? No. Can we talk? Can we talk? No. Okay. That was about as much as she got out of him. But we've said this for quite a while now. If in places that produce oil, they have the cheapest fuel in the world, petrol, then surely in the places where we manufacture and produce dairy, of which you said the other day that 95% of what Fonterra does is overseas, yeah? So surely we should get our dairy at a cheaper price. And like I've said many, many times now, so I'll keep it brief, we all help Fonterra. We pay for the roads they drive on. We pay for the health system that their farmers use from time to time. We pay for the schools that the kids of those farmers go to, then grow up to be farmers and keep delivering product to Fonterra. We, the nation, have invested in Fonterra. Australia hasn't done that. Australia will take their product, but they haven't invested in them. We contribute to a tax take that I'm sure farmers and Fonterra have dipped out of when they've had a year in loss. So I think we, the country, need to see something for our return. It doesn't feel too much of a stretch to go government regulation. If you're selling more than 50% of your product offshore, if that's where your profits are coming from, if they can do, rental price freezes in New York, then surely there can be legislation around dairy or just produce prices within New Zealand. Anyway, this is also about the polling that came in as well, and then we'll have a look at it a bit more closely into what it said today.
No mai, haere mai, ma loi lele, welcome to 3 News. The Finance Minister is tonight meeting with Fonterra's Chief Executive to discuss the nearly 50% surge in the price of butter. Nicola Willis today acknowledged Kiwis think the cost of living is too high, and the opposition agrees, with Labor accusing...
Let's remember as well, and I haven't put it on the soundboard yet, last night, Mr. Luxon, remember the words? We own this now. Last night, Christopher Luxon said that they own where inflation is right now. They own the economy. He said it last night. I'm just reminding you of that because, there might be a little bit of blame Labor in this. But last night, the Prime Minister said we own this now.
The government of failing to address the strain on households. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon hit back, saying, and I quote, "I'm not taking any lectures from frickin' Chris Hipkins or the Labor Party." Here's political correspondent Zane Small.
I think
Oh,
we all know
rattled
where the price of
much?
butter is astronomical right now. I mean, this is just upsetting.
The Minister of Finance wants to know too.
I think Kiwis feel the cost of living is too high, and butter is a symptom of that.
So tonight she's meeting with the chief.
And you're doing what about that? All those promises pre-election that you said you could do it better than Labor. Remember the pricing of food and stuff went down under Labor, continued down under National, and then since 12 months ago it started going up again. That's yours. You own that upward inflection. So what are you doing about it?
Executive of dairy cooperative Fonterra for a please explain.
Miles Hurrell has the opportunity to talk through what goes into the price of a block of butter, and it's in his interests to do so.
He has talked about it though. This was a month ago.
Respectfully, the New Zealand element of that is very, very small. It's the international market that drives that in the New Zealand context.
And in a statement today, Fonterra reiterated that the biggest contributor is the globally traded price of dairy. If we look at what this means for a 500-gram block of butter, around 80% of the price is due to the global traded price.
I'm sorry. If I had 100 barrels of oil, and currently the traded price for oil was $100 and they cost me $20 to produce, I could still sell them for 50 if I wanted to, even if the international traded price was more. Why aren't they telling us what a block of butter costs to manufacture? Because that's actually all that matters, unless you are driving your sales by greed. We are investors in every farm in New Zealand. We are investors in Fonterra. We have added to a community and a society where these guys have flourished, and there's no shade, but we have paid for the schools that your kids go to, and the health system that your farm hands go to, and the tax take that you draw out of when you want to get back on your GST. We've contributed to your success. The global traded price is not something we care about. We care about what's the cost for 500 grams of butter. What does it cost you to manufacture? Because if it costs you $2 to manufacture, you can sell it for $5 and still be making a good whack of money. If it costs $4, you could sell it for $5. If it costs $1, you can sell it for $6. So to have this, you think this is an out, that because of the global traded price of dairy means you have to sell it for that. I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
If you were having that meeting with Fonterra, what would you say?
I'd say, what are the answers? What are the solutions to deal with this very real issue that New Zealanders are facing?
That very real issue, the rising cost of living, providing political ammunition today for the opposition after National campaigned on fixing it.
Food price inflation is out of control, and the government has no plan to fix it.
Butter is up almost 50%, tomatoes 33%, lettuce and broccoli 30%, steaks up 22%, and rates, insurance, electricity and other household costs continue to rise.
Well, I find it a little bit ironic being asked that question by that member, don't you think? Because it was his government that created out-of-control spending, tripled the debt 3 times.
They promised over 20...
Can you please clarify that? So you said taglines, out-of-control spending. So example. Just show us the receipts of what you're talking about rather than the headlines.
The man is pretending that COVID was a gas leak. He just has no recollection of what happened then, what was required, what his party supported the government at the time for doing. He's also completely lost his mind on the fact that international economics kicked in on an island trading nation.
The same international economics that they wouldn't allow the last guys to have any impact of. They remember they wouldn't let the international pressures of the last guys have any grace. So I'm sorry.
Economic trading pressures and issues that they're blaming for their poor domestic performance now. It's so fucking blatantly selective.
So here's
this
something
man
interesting.
Is a goober.
Something interesting from Nikki No Butter's meeting tonight. Sonia says, "Fuck Fonterra. We need to be able to buy Australian butter so they have competition." Interesting. Interesting. Come on, capitalistic organisation, party of business. Let's have some competition when we open up our borders to butters and cheeses from other parts of the world. Wonder how that would go. Maybe Australians would be going, why could they buy butter cheaper in Dunedin than we can in Perth? Maybe.
See, I mean, the only way you'd find out is by trying it. I don't think it would work.
Maybe.
I don't think we had the market that would shift the needle on. I honestly think that this is something that the government need to come in and go, hey, you need to carve out fair pricing for the New Zealand market, because it's New Zealand that you grow this stuff in.
Yeah.
It's New Zealand that drives your high international demand because of our international image of being clean and green, even though we know that's all a lie. The marketing's still working. So you can get that high price. But if you don't, then the government changes. And we can't have that we fell out of Parliament because the forecourt steps were greased with $11 butter. We can't have it.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't. Maybe it isn't the answer. I don't know. But the idea that they can hide behind international traded price of dairy, when
such a bullshit answer.
The cows are in Waikato. The part of the dairy used to be in what was it, by Cambridge? They had a rugby team, Hotapu or something like that. And they probably make the butter and the cheese, or at least some of it. They start to produce it in Waikato where the cows are, and then it gets sold in Hamilton. That the international price of dairy shouldn't impact what it costs to produce and drive 20 k's down the road. We shouldn't be paying what it costs to produce and then fly 12,000 kilometres offshore or go by boat. You see the gap here? Like even that. So it's just greed. It's just greed. And if this government doesn't do something about it, maybe there'll be some other guys to give it a crack. I tell you what, the idea we've come up with here about some kind of price freeze, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the parties on the left picked that up, because it's good policy. It's good, and we're not saying no profits. We're just saying a return on the citizens' investment in your humongous company while you make 95% of your profits offshore anyway. That's what we're saying. All right, we'll keep going, eh?
Yep.
It created out-of-control spending, tripled the debt 3 times.
They promised over 21,000.
They tripled the debt 3 times. That means it was times 3 times 3 times 3. Isn't that like 27 times the debt? I'd like to check his numbers, because I don't reckon that actually happened. They tripled the debt 3 times.
Families, that they'd be getting the maximum amount under the Family Boost childcare rebate. It turns out only 153 families have received that through the last year. I think it shows that they misjudged the Family Boost policy.
I'm not taking any lectures from frickin' Chris Hipkins or the Labor Party on not supporting low and mid.
What a dick. Like, what does he think? I mean, if we believe that these guys are quite finely tuned when it comes to their messaging, what little spotty, twatty ninth floor advisor has said, oh, you should just really be rough and hard and tough and like put him in his place? And that's what he said. Actually, you know what? It's so off kilter. You just look stupid. You look stupid.
He looks rattled. This is exactly what I thought the last time that he used that word. Because this is the second time he's come back to using the word frickin' like a fucking child. Just say the word. Just drop an F-bomb. Live a little, Luxon. But yeah, it's not becoming of a prime minister. It doesn't come across as someone that is moderate in their emotions. As someone that is in control of what's going on and thinks that the criticism from the opposition leader can't touch him. This is someone that is reacting with irritation. And the fact that it's happened on a day where another shit poll has come out for him.
Yeah.
And, certainly when we were speaking to Tanya, the feeling that there are cracks, big cracks in the coalition. This just sort of anchors that feeling for me, is that he doesn't feel like he's a guy in control. His middle managers, the people he trusts to be autonomous so he can just cruise a little bit, they're not doing a good job. And that means he's not doing a good job.
Yeah. No, all right.
Through the last year. I think it shows that they misjudged the family boost policy.
I'm not taking any lectures from frickin' Chris Hipkins or the Labour Party on not supporting low and middle income working New Zealanders.
The government has widened the eligibility for Family Boost, which provides tax refunds on the cost of early childhood education. And more than 60,000 households have received a payment, just not the full entitlement.
It is one thing to be unhappy about the cost of living. Actually, we all are. It's another thing to constructively be progressing ideas to address it. I'm not seeing that from Labour. I'm seeing shallow attack politics, which doesn't put bread on anyone's table.
But with the cost of living on the rise, the government may have a challenge to butter up voters ahead of next year's election.
Okay, we are anti-mums. We don't normally play the commentary afterwards, but the commentary afterwards, he talks a bit about the polling. So we will play it tonight, and then we'll go into the story about the polling.
And Zane, a new political poll suggests it'll be a tight race.
That's right. It's a new Talbot Mills poll provided to the Post, and it shows a majority think the country is on the wrong track. And what might be most worrying for the government is that 76% thought that the economy wasn't doing well. And while 38% believed the government deserved to be re-elected, 48% thought that it was time to give another party a go. Looking at the numbers, the
48%. That's bad.
Poll has Labour ahead at 30.
Sorry, Joe. Yep.
Let's say all the usual stuff about polling. Don't trust polls. Don't trust polls. You want to look at the trend over a series of polls. This is Labour's poll. All of that sort of stuff. So we're not betting the farm yet, but this is still showing that trend that people aren't happy.
Yeah, and that's what it's about.
35%, National at 32%, the Greens at 12%, ACT at 8%.
And what all these guys are doing is they're doing the numbers in their head. You know, 35 plus 12 is 47, plus 4 is 51, 32 plus 8 is 40, plus 7 is 47. But when it comes to those, I mean, that's an interesting trend if it is a trend. But the it's time to give another party a crack result is pretty devastating.
New Zealand First at 7% and Te Pāti Māori at 3.8%. Now, Deputy Prime Minister David Seymour, when we asked him about this today, said, and I quote, "It's the middle of winter, the economy is tough, and it's not that surprising that people are down on the government." But he said voters will judge the government a year from now on work that is currently underway, and he reckons there are better times to come.
I actually think that's a fair commentary from David Seymour.
I think it's. And I hate it.
No, it's fair because I don't know. I hate using sports analogies all the time, but it's like the middle third of a game where a team sort of winds down and then they ramp up at the end to win the game. It's like the stuff they're putting in now will be judged in 12 months, and if the country likes it, country meaning people who have had head injuries like them, then that will be what they use to run into an election.
It's a big demographic
right now. Yeah, apparently
it's a big demographic in New Zealand, people with traumatic brain injuries.
And I'll show you the trends now. I had to open this up on another, so I'm using whatever the Windows. I don't like this at all, but it shows us the trend.
The other thing that I'd like to say is when David Seymour isn't being a showboating twat, yes, he can say things like this that is completely fair. And that lulls you into a false sense of security that he's actually a normal person, but he's not. Remember that.
Yeah. So I've had to use a horrible Windows-based system, whatever this is called, because the Post only lets you look at a few articles per month. And because I'd already used up my number, then when the computer crashed, I went back into Chrome and I wasn't allowed to watch them, so I look at them. So all I wanted to really show you from here was that exact thing as the trend, Chewy. There's some trending. And if you actually look at it, you know, Labour's worst result has been 29% TVNZ, and that was in May. And since then, this is the poll of polls. No, it's not. Sorry, it's not the poll of polls. It's all polls, putting them at 35. But I mean, like, you can actually see that, you know, because the lines are pretty similar, all these different polls are saying similar things. that's pretty static, I guess. I mean, if you look a straight line across there, that's not that dissimilar for either of them. If anything, you'd probably say that National was down a little bit. You just put a line straight through there. It's Labour's pretty much. The Greens have gone from a high, and their trend is sort of flatlining it, start to improve. ACT is sort of flatlining it, starting to dip off. Te Pāti Māori certainly would be down a bit in the trend-wise. But, you know, it's interesting to see that the nation, via this polling, is saying we're not that happy with the direction of the country. That's pretty clearly what they're saying. I mean, like this whole one-term government, don't buy into any of that stuff, but purely the direction of the country. And you got to say again, you know, normally a government wouldn't even touch the sides at the end of the first term. You know, at the end of the second, they're pretty assured 2 terms, and then it's, are they good enough to get a third? But to be genuinely asking, are they good enough to get a second? It speaks volumes as to who these guys are. So,
I mean, there's a couple of things that I would want to mention about this. Like, Luxon sort of going, I'm not frickin' taking lectures from frickin' Labour over frickin' frack. The fact was, Labour's policy of free ECE hours delivered more benefit to more families with less admin. It was running for years.
Yeah.
Whereas only 121 families have got what National were promising in the election. That's a staggering failure. So maybe you should be listening to a lecture from Chris Hipkins and Labour.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, you weigh those two programs.
Yeah.
Which one was giving more benefit to more families? Like, straight out of the gates. Fucking get out a pen and paper, Chris. Work it out. The other thing that I find absolutely staggering is how these people on their publicly funded salaries can sit there, stare down the barrel of a reporter or out of a camera and go, oh, we know things are tough out there. Oh, do you? On $300,000 plus a year. Do you know how tough it is? Chris, in the last 12 months, multi-million dollars of tax-free income from selling property. Do you know how tough it is for your average worker, somebody on a wage? Do you? Should be burned at a stake for trying to convince us that you know how tough it is for people out there. I work in a business where people get a monthly bill, and I have conversations about those monthly bills. I had a grown man on the verge of tears because he got an electricity bill that was bigger than he had planned for. Have you ever been in that situation, Luxon? Do you know what that feels like, Nicola Willis? Then don't fucking pretend.
And as Chewy identified last week, and I'm going to put this into I have a folder of regularly used pages. This will be there. Just want to say it again. Luxon said it last night about inflation. We own this. This is the Labour government, right? And obviously through COVID, you can't deny it's gone up. We can debate whether it went up because of external factors, Nicola, or whatever, or bad management. But we can see very, very easily there that trending down in the last quarter of Labour, continuing to trend down under the start of National. And then at the middle of last year, 12 months ago, you own this increase. So this is all you guys. So you need to stop this whole Labour, which hopefully you have, Luxon said you have, and go, actually, we're owning this. Because if this keeps going up, it won't be very long until you're at the heights of the other guys and you promise to do better. So
yeah, it's almost like they've owned like, anybody could have told at the time of the election, at the time of change of government, the interest rates were going to come down, and we're starting to come down. So you can't just then like go take the easy win, right? It was always coming down, but that was definitely us because it happened when we were in government. Well, the reverse applies. It's going back up again, and that's all you. And why is it going up? It's because our rates are going up because Three Waters is there.
And that's all you.
It's gone, and councils are screwed. because of it.
And that's all. And that's all you.
Rents are not going down to the degree that you thought you were. You have loaded families up with more childcare and education costs and transport costs as well.
That's all
And
you.
then you've done absolutely nothing about the supermarket duopoly. And one of our biggest exporters and food producers, they're trying to go, oh, there's literally nothing we can do about the price of dairy. Like, we had the lads round and we were talking about it, and nobody had a single idea because people overseas pay more.
Yeah.
So how can we possibly do anything about the price here? Butter just has to be the same cost as it is in Japan, China, Canada, the other side of the fucking world. There's nothing. We've thought of nothing and we've done nothing, and because there's nothing to be done. But Nicola, who used to work here, is going to come and have a very substantial conversation with us. She goes, hey, I've been out of this for a few years and I forgot how butter works. Can you explain me how butter works? Because I'll go on the news tomorrow and say that you're trying, and hopefully that'll last for another 18 months.
I'd like to, and I should have probably done it, but I'd like to have a look what years Nicola Willis was at Fonterra, and I'm assuming that she was not. 2012, Willis joined Dairy Cooperative Fonterra in a lobbyist role. So from 2012, I'm just going to say that the CEO wasn't the same person 13 years ago. I would think not. That feels like it's too long for the age that the man looks to be. But it'd be interesting to know if,
lobbyists into politicians.
yeah, that's a good point as well. Right, let's truck on. Let's get moving. Peter says time for a strategic dairy reserve. Not joking. Komatara says, so would that make Luxon fricky no votes? James says, on I guess the cell phone, the second headline reads coalition polling poo. Well, that's fine as well. It can be poorly or it can be poo. Works. Wahiki, Māori have paid even more so far for that butter. Many of those farms are producing dairy on former stolen Māori lands. A very good point. Mike says, living in the Naki, have farmer friends who buy milk. They look puzzled when you ask them why. The whole industry is brainwashed to produce a thing to export, not a basic necessity.
You're talking about dairy farmers
buying milk, so they're not keeping any of their milk at all.
From the supermarket. That's fucked.
Well,
What?
I mean, can I? Let me just suggest something. I agree with this sentiment, but we used to buy raw milk from a farm up above Port Chalmers. We'd go out and get like a dozen bottles a week, and then one of their cows got TB, and they had to then legally start pasteurising it. So in theory,
I wouldn't buy raw milk because I'm not.
Yeah, but most dairy farms, I would think, and I'm not defending this, but most dairy farms that I've seen, I went to a few and holidayed at a few as a kid who were schoolmates' parents owned. The milk literally comes out the cow into a big vat, out the vat into a truck. I don't think it gets pasteurised at the farm, does it?
But it's not magic.
No, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it seems a bit counterintuitive. I wonder if there's just a health issue there. The 50,000 housing PM entitlement returned generously covered 4 weeks of the max family boost to 153 families. 50,000 divided by 75 times 153. And just to wrap up,
I've just checked how to pasteurize milk. It is literally not magic.
You
heat it to a specific temperature for 30 minutes, 63 degrees for 30 minutes, straight out of the cow. You probably don't heat the whole cow up because they don't like it, but then you have to rapidly cool it.
Just the udder,
to 4
wrap the
degrees.
udder in a.
And then it's done. Like I can't. You have a cow herd. You just put some milk in a bucket, and that's yours. That's your milk. You don't have to go to the supermarket. Okay, your your dairy farmer friends that buy milk at the supermarket are crazy.
Okay. Chewy bringing the heat. 63 degrees officially.
63 degrees for 30 minutes. That much heat. Pasteurize anything.
Okay, we're going to move into the last story of the day. It's a little bit about the news media at the moment. And we're going to start with a story around three. Three was sold today to Sky for $1.
Thank you for being our people.
A little over a year after Stuff threw 3 News a lifeline, it's facing another seismic shift. Warner Brothers Discovery set to exit New Zealand's free-to-air market completely with its $1 sale.
For us, it was about, okay, you know, there's challenges in the marketplace, but we absolutely believe in these assets. Can we sustain them as a standalone business?
As it ultimately decided no, Sky TV said yes. A call that's likely throwing 3 News another lifeline, with no proposed changes to its contract with Stuff or programming for now. One of the most...
That's a little bit scary though, isn't it, the for now, because we've already...
That for now is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, because we've already all talked about, you know, loss of so many news media outlets, and, you know, we are a weaker nation without as many news reporters. So it will be interesting to see what is to come. I mean, I will put in some calls to Sky TV. I used to know the CEO there, the new one I do not, but we'll ask the question if they can come on, because to be really fair, I don't really watch 3 News very much, but I realise how important it is to have a diverse number of voices when it comes to the news. I don't listen to News Talk ZB either, but they do news on there from time to time. I don't listen to heaps of RNZ. They're important. These places that we don't listen to are still important because they do disseminate information to the public, and having fewer of them makes us a worse country, basically, a more vulnerable country, especially to things like mis and disinformation.
Acquisitions, the 3 Now video on-demand platform.
We've made no secret of the fact that we see a real opportunity in growing our advertising revenues. And the one platform that we were missing was a BVOD platform. So to be able to work with Warner Brothers Discovery and acquire 3 and 3 Now is a super exciting opportunity.
Sky's told investors its purchase will see audience numbers on traditional TV channels grow 31.5% to 2.2 million a week. And its digital reach is set to grow 59%, up to 1.2 million a week.
Close to us?
Yeah, that's pretty close to our reach.
We do that daily, I think.
A bigger combined audience is going to give it more purchasing power.
Especially for sporting rights.
There's an opportunity with the diversity of audience that this brings us to have that conversation with sport partners going forward.
The Commerce Commission was advised of the sale but chose not to...
I love sports. I actually don't love sports that much anymore. I don't watch it very much, but it's fun.
I've ruined it for you.
You've ruined it for you. You have turned me against sports.
Intervene.
The media's in such a poor state. Turning it down would have been problematic in a sense that Warner's probably were going to shut TV3. So in a way, this actually keeps competition in the market.
And that puts the till now mostly pay TV provider in direct competition with the public broadcaster. In a statement, TVNZ acknowledged Sky's announcement, saying it does take an interest in market changes, but it had no comment to make.
It'll be interesting to see whether Sky can actually bring some sustained profitability to TV3.
The way we've structured this deal, we've been very disciplined. We have the runway that we need.
With only $1 changing hands, its runway, she says, ensures a good takeoff. Corazon Miller, 1 News.
I wonder if that literally happens. I wonder if they literally hand over $1.
I was just thinking that whether there's a crisp handshake and someone flicks a very shiny $1 coin at somebody else.
So there you go. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to show some Colbert shortly as well. But first of all, Chewy, TV3 or 3, it's a bizarre time because on one hand you kind of go, let's now see what these local guys can do. You know, they should hopefully have more of a vested interest in the local product rather than the guys coming straight out of California, basically. But then again, the media landscape in this day and age is so hard and difficult to be profitable. And unfortunately, you need to be profitable to be able to pay salaries, etc. Well, just not lose money, you can break even. Can they do it? And maybe maybe a model that's already got, because they own Prime TV as well. So now it'll be 3, 4. Is there still a channel 4? Listen to me. That's literally how little I watch TV. But Prime TV, so they've probably got 3 or 4 free-to-air channels now through the acquisition of 3.
Yeah, first of all, the positives. Anything that keeps Samantha Hayes on our screens is a net plus for the country. Anything that brings it into a closer control here in New Zealand, and it is Sky New Zealand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not UK.
Because I mean, the other thing that flashed through my mind is how absolutely terrible Sky News is in Australia.
Oh, you thought Rupert was getting his fingers on it, did you?
Yeah. You always got to be worried about Rupert Murdoch's in the woodpile. But overall, I think this could be good. They needed an owner that was more engaged in the New Zealand market. Warner Discovery clearly was looking at the door the entire time, looking at their watch, waiting for their Uber to turn up so they could get the fuck out.
Just wanted to do Millionaires Housewives all day, every day on 3.
Yeah. And yeah, again, very much like you, I want to see a healthy, vibrant, news-gathering organisation in New Zealand. It's been under so much pressure, and I think we are starting to see the effects of that.
Mm-hmm.
That there for the few reporters that are left, they can't cover everything that is fucking going on. Nobody's got any time to ask any decent questions. So anything that improves that has got to be good for New Zealand.
Yeah.
But like we pointed out, keeping things as they are for now, what is happening once it's after for now and they've worked out what they want to do? Is it an asset strip? Is it just we're going to screen Love Island 24/7, lowest common denominator?
Yeah, but the
reason
that's less likely, it was easier for Warner Brothers Discovery to do that because they already own those. So that becomes less likely. Maybe they need to start streaming some live evening political conversations, which cost very little to operate and run. I mean, I don't know what they could do, but they could be something.
Well, I hear that they've got at least $1. We could split that.
I'm sorry,
50-cent mixture each.
My
a crisp handshake.
My age is showing. It's probably not my age because I don't know television stations anymore. Probably the opposite because I'm down with the kids. I don't think there is a Prime TV anymore. So a Bravo is what 4 used to be because Bravo is based on Warner Brothers Discovery Bravo in the US. So they've bought 3 and they've bought Bravo, and I'm pretty sure Duke is TVNZ like it says. So maybe that's it.
Is this the lesson that the networks need to learn? Like, because it was this whole thing of like different TV channels back before the internet. Children, gather round, let Uncle Chewy tell your story. Look, it was exciting when there was a new TV channel, and you had to, when the ads come on, you jump to another channel, and hopefully you don't hit an ad break. But as was rightly pointed out in that article, the digital platform is the most important thing now.
Yeah, true.
Internet connected TVs and playing the app. And look, TVNZ's app is decent. It's got some decent content on it. 3's is pretty good as well. This is the platform that they've been building. The work has been done. Now you just got to fill it up full of content.
Well, and it's really good because the one thing that they've added, and when I say recently, probably it means in the last 5 years, is also the live TV. So people don't even need any more to have aerials. They've got an internet TV because they can literally watch, live TV by clicking the live TV tab and flicking through the channels, like you would in any other. Eden, there you go. Eden's part of 3 as well. Oh, unless this has got all of them. Oh my gosh, there's lots there. Oh, CNN. What's happening on CNN? Maybe get some breaking news from CNN. What's happening on CNN? Well, watch live. CNN. That'll get us taken down. No.
Very important point of clarification about the old days as well. If there was channel hopping to be done in the ad breaks, only the man would do it.
Yeah, from his lazy boy chair.
The women were not allowed to handle the TV remote.
The woman would be, would you like a cup of tea, love? That was womanly.
They were on tea making and child rearing, and Dad would be changing the channel like us.
Okay,
that's how it used to work in those days.
I'm interested actually to see what they do. obviously it comes down to cost, but is there a chance for them to kind of go full on the other way and actually go, let's drive money into local product? TVNZ 7 is the last time we've ever really seen that sort of thing happen. That must have been under Auntie Helen, I'm guessing, all those years ago. Really was sort of a public broadcaster. Is there a way to really make it like radio in this day and age? They're actually talking about hyper local is the way to go. Actually do a radio station
that for years.
Actually do a radio station to your neighbourhood. Is there a way of making a hyper local television station, but it would be New Zealand? And is that the way forward? Don't know.
Have we got enough of an industry to do stuff cheap enough but good looking enough for people to watch?
Stop it.
That's always been the thing. But I think people would watch kind of janky shit as long as it was telling local stories for local sensibilities and stuff like that. Hopefully it's all good things. I think too long did not read of what we're trying to say here.
The other thing, Chewy, that you wanted to talk about was Colbert. Now, I hate this kind of bullshit. Colbert did the Colbert Report. That was groundbreaking television.
Amazing.
That was generational TV. And he's moved over to do this, and he's done very well. And it's the number one thing. But even in this, I'm going to show you a little bit of his monologue from his latest show. And it's just so cheesy. It does still raise a very big question about America, which is who is bowing the knee to Donald Trump for the sake of their finances versus who is doing, and whether it's a university doing a settlement or CBS for 60 Minutes. Let's have a listen to a little bit of his opening show.
And now for the next 10 months, the gloves are off. I can finally.
I just hate all the screaming. That sentence wasn't worth that response. I mean, Stephen Colbert, I will always love you, especially for the Colbert Report, but this is American, niche America cringe factor, just the screaming people because you say anything.
I can finally speak unvarnished truth to power and say what I really think about Donald Trump, starting right now. I don't care for him.
Hilarious. That goes on for a bit, though. We'll play you the last little bit because he does talk about the actual money and what's happened. Now, for background, if someone doesn't know, CBS paid out $16 million to Donald Trump for a story that was edited on 60 Minutes. Completely fairly. They never would have lost the case, but they wanted it to go away, so they paid him $16 million. That's relevant because he does mention it in a joke.
Over the weekend, somebody at CBS followed up their gracious press release with a gracious anonymous leak saying they pulled the plug on our show because of losses pegged between $40 million and $50 million a year. 40 million's a big number. I could see us losing $24 million, but where would Paramount have possibly spent the other $16 million? Oh, yeah.
I like that. Good joke.
I'll call you like that. Still, that's still a lot of money. I mean, where does the Late Show rank? Jim, what other companies lost that kind of money last year? Red Lobster? Damn it, I told them we should stop offering the audience unlimited shrimp. Maya, take it away.
Goes on, and this big out is telling Donald Trump, "Fuck you." That's the big heavy out.
Unrelated story. On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings."
Out of interest, #1 show, but Trump.
How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go yourself.
Anyway, Colbert. Now, if you have any interest in Colbert, actually, ironically, what you should do is go and watch Jon Stewart, because Jon Stewart does a very, very good breakdown on it. I'm not going to play it because we'd get we might just get dumped off the air for playing it. We probably wouldn't, but I can't be asked going through that this weekend. A very, very, very good write-up, and he talks about CBS, who also owns The Daily Show, owns Comedy Central. So, he's talking about his thing, and this is the CBS thing he's talking about. And it was lovely at the end. If any of you guys are Daily Show aficionados from back in its heyday, the writers' strike happened once, and when the writers' strike happened, there was obviously no writers, and after a period of time they brought the show back, and Jon Stewart did a show where he was like, now what would my writers do if my writers here? They'd put out something eloquently, and he said fuck you. That was his wrap up, and then he had the fuck you choir, and so he's brought back the fuck you choir, which was a nice throwback actually. And if you want to go and check it out, it's very good. It's a very good synopsis of the whole situation. But Chewie, you said earlier that you definitely wanted to talk about this, so have at it, sir.
Yeah, so the first headlines about this was that he was getting cut and dumped off the air, and then it came out that actually he's getting dumped off the air in 10 months. So they are definitely making hay while the sun shines, that for somehow Colbert is going to be let off his leash. I don't think he was ever really on a leash. As you pointed out, it's a top-rating late-night TV show. What he was doing was working. I think the danger is here that it is very clearly a bribe that has been paid to Donald Trump, and part of that is, I want you to get rid of this guy that makes fun of me.
So can I just, sorry to interrupt you, but just to add one thing we haven't said, CBS currently has on the table an $8 billion merger. And the $8 billion merger, the $8 billion merger does need kind of governmental authorization. Like what just happened with Sky TV and 3 here, we had to go through our system. So in other words, CBS doesn't need Donald Trump's approval, but it needs a government department to rubber stamp it, and the merger is worth $8 billion. And so, of course, it's very clear that most are thinking this is not about the underperforming #1 rated show in its time slot. It's about, we want to be able to make an $8 billion merger. Sorry, Chewie, just to give all the information.
No, very true. I had forgotten about that merger as well. Like, it is... The moment that TV networks and news networks that do news decide to bend the knee to a president, I think is a very, very chilling thing. And I think there's a few outlets in the States that are kind of looking at it that view and go, this is a dangerous path we're heading down. But at this stage, I think the networks and their advertisers are scared of where things are going. Mm-hmm. But I think when you get to that aspect, don't think that just because you're showing loyalty to the dictator, that the dictator will show loyalty to you.
Yeah.
And I think this is covered off in the other piece that we talked about there. But yeah, one of the powerhouses behind Trump coming to power and always being in that public eye is Rupert Murdoch and the Fox network. Trump's suing Rupert
Trump
Murdoch.
is suing, yeah.
At the moment. So that's the point. So, like, if this motherfucker's going to turn on you at some point anyway, then why bother bending the knee to him? I find it interesting that dictators have always had a problem with comedians. They don't like being mocked. And I saw a really interesting article that kind of said Trump's a little bit different in that aspect, is that he's kind of been immune to comedy. He's having to go on Saturday Night Live and be lightly mocked a little bit there. There's comedians doing wall-to-wall pieces about him for nearly, 20, 30 years? About what a goober he is. Doesn't matter. Puts him in the public eye.
But he is still thin-skinned. There's a very famous story about when they did the Donald Trump roast on Comedy Central, they weren't allowed to make jokes about his money. He made that as a part of they weren't allowed to joke about him not being rich. So, he makes himself available to be the butt of a joke to a point, but he controls the butt, if you put it that way, very, very clearly.
Yeah, sometimes that's been a problem, how he controls the butt. Yeah.
Was it a Ben Elton piece that you saw? Because British comedy great Ben Elton says Donald Trump is unsatirizable. You can't satire
It might
him.
have been coming out of that comment. I don't remember it being Ben Elton's comment, but you know, I think this is because Trump is a dictator. He is, like, maybe not literally, but if he could, he hasn't got to that point yet. But if he could, I think he would. I think it's very clear he doesn't care about the Constitution or anything like that. He's happy to mock supporters or be angry at his own supporters. He thinks he's secure at this place. So now we're seeing this thing of like, well, I don't like this jester. Let's get rid of him.
Yeah. The only person that's harsher on MAGA people than the Democrats is Donald Trump. He's the only person who treats them worse than the left. Is Donald Trump himself, and tells them that they're idiots and doesn't want them to vote for him because they believe the Epstein files that he is definitely in and is still trying to cover up. So, yeah, interesting. And we'll keep watching. Look, I'm actually quite intrigued about this TV3 stuff or 3 stuff because they are, I mean, it seems to have worked with stuff. I see Sinead Boucher was quoted today saying, you can find a good deal for $1, kind of a little nod and a wink to her buying stuff for $1. And they seem to have done okay. I mean, they haven't folded. They're still going, and they've sold half of who they are to Trade Me. And I'm sure that was a nice lump sum. If Sinead still owned all of it, then probably a pretty good return on $1. And we'll see what happens with 3. But I mean, I guess in an ideal world, and it's probably wrong to think that way, it'd be nice to see a channel, and I will just say it, I think go lower budget, but hyper local. You know, I mean, what you can do now, the entry level to making television ready content is negligible. When people are carrying, and I'm not saying literally, but when people are carrying 4K cameras in their pockets, it's not much more you have to do with that, above that, to then be able to have something that's broadcastable. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, I think it's time to wrap personally, so let's get to some of these chats. ACC and the Super Fund have large holdings in Sky. So every advert will now be ACC, an advert on 3. And Sky. Defunding PBS, NPR, and Voice of America is worse for US media. Yeah, that's just happened in the last week as well. Kiwi Bird says, insert forced laugh and clap track here. Over Red Rover, I propose another podcast based on defence, corrections, and police. Chewy has an interest. We have the CEO, the lawyer, the doctor, short the cops. All right, there you go. I like it how it's we have ownership already of everything. It's great. And Alex says, just to wrap up the show, over in Lower Hutt, one of the councillors who I spoke to mentioned elderly, working class and unemployed are applying for rates rebates as property rates are increasing like a rocket. You know, I believe retired people and beneficiaries, you can get, I think it's $500 back on your rates. Rates are expensive, man. It's always a bit of a shock when you look to see that. You kind of think of an elderly person owning their own house and going, oh, you know, you can live pretty cheap now if you need to. And their rate bill's $4,000 a year. So out of their pension, there's $80 a week has to go on rates. It's just, it's not nothing, you know?
Yeah,
it's not nothing.
Tangent time. I don't pay any attention. I haven't set it up for a monthly payment. I just don't look at it. I don't know if that's ignorance or
Is
that
that because
sort of thing, but I was
you're
speaking to someone
you're mega wealthy?
that had just got like a big rates bill, and I was like, I kind of just wanted to go, why are you paying that all at once? It's weird. But
yeah, I do.
You know,
I do the same. I pay
different.
weekly. I put it in credit. I don't think you're supposed to pay it weekly. I don't think they like it because there's a lot more work for them. But I don't care. Pay weekly.
It's literally an option on the DCC website, so I
there
used
you
it. You know, there you go. Hey, before we take off, I do want to very briefly put this up.
Yeah, I saw that.
The only real comment I have about this in the story is like about Morris Williamson on the Auckland Council basically spreading the rumour of what Tory had been up to. Couple of good things. He was immediately shut down by some of his fellow councillors or people that were in the room. So, yeah, Morris Williamson has said that to another councillor. It's been recorded.
Go back.
Video.
Go back up. Did it say it happened during a meeting? The recording of Williams obtained by the Herald features the Howick Ward councillor saying he had been told by someone, yada yada. The comments were made during an Auckland Council committee meeting. So this is not like in the lunchroom over the water cooler.
No, it's during a meeting, so
Fuck
it's recorded.
me.
So he's an idiot.
What a twat.
Yeah. So friend of the show, To Henere, was there and was apparently the person that told him to sit down and belt up.
Yeah, I bet he was.
So great to see that someone was there to immediately call it out and say, mate, not on. But the thought I have is this: here is another old white man in politics apparently able to fucking cruise on saying whatever creepy bullshit thing that he wants in politics from one end of the country to the other, local, national, whatever, is plagued with these old men that think they can say fucking anything and get away with it, because often that they do. And then the people that fall by the wayside are the young, the idealistic, the ones with new and better, more progressive ideas, brown people.
But it's not even. It's not
women.
even get. It's not even
we
get away
lose the
with it.
diversity because of the toxicity of these crusty old duffers that just persist on. You've had your time in politics, man. Like, local politics shouldn't be a retirement system for national level politicians. Yes, I'm talking about both sides of the aisle. Morris Williams isn't there. Who's going to be Mayor of Wellington? What a surprise. You know, it's...
I was going to say, it's not exactly...
That's the one good thing that Morris Williamson ever did, was that speech.
It's not even that he gets away with it, Chewy. It's that because to get away with something, you have to think what you're saying is wrong or bad. They don't think that. They don't think it's wrong or bad. So they're not getting away with it. They're just saying things they want to say.
And I think the problem, and I think most councils will agree with me here, is the problem is because it's government, local government or government, and involves being voted in, it's not like it would be in the workplace. Like if Morris Williamson was in a business, in a team meeting, and he said something about that, about someone in another branch, he'd be fucking gone. But there is nothing that you can do to get rid of these people until the next election, and there's always going to be a portion of the electorate that goes, ha, remember he did that thing? I'm going to vote for him. Yeah. It's... I don't know what the answer is to that, but yes, there are no repercussions until there is an election, and that's if people think it's worthy of voting them out over.
Well, you know, it's locker room talk. You can get away with that kind of stuff this day and age, can't you? We've had it from the top. Woonbing says Morris was emboldened by Wayne Brown's bullying, perhaps. All right, team. Thank you for being with us. Big thanks to Tanya for joining us tonight. Remember, as soon as we know the final details on the podcast for Tanya, we'll let you know all about it. Other than that, got a few things on the boil for tomorrow night's show. I know we promised you a signatory to the open letters last night. That conversation is still going on. We haven't quite come up with who's going to come and chat with us, but it's still a part of it. That's the authors sort of against Gaza attack or something like that. Anyway, back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock for the next edition. There'll be lots of interesting things for you to get your teeth into.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation. nation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily, neither this way or that, and we'll be analyzed by what Chewy and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Nothing extra from me tonight, Chew. Anything you want to wrap up with?
Oh, yeah, but nah. You'll have to check out the image that I just put on Discord. There's a little plug for our Discord channel.
Oh, that's a sneaky one. All right, team. We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 o'clock for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo!
Cheers, fam.